Good morning to all my friends and family, and welcome to this most special episode of Jim's 5am Club. It's first light on Valentine's Day, Monday the 14th of February 2022, and we are blessed to see a pink horizon. How beautiful. It's going to be a cracker of a day by the looks of it, but you can sense that the season is about to change. It's a little bit colder, a little bit crisper first thing in the morning, and it's a reminder that summer is on its way out. But with summer moving on, Sydney will be presented with, I guess, the best season of all. For me, growing up in Australia, autumn is by far the best season. It's the season with the clearest skies, the stablest weather, and the less amount of wind. So it's got a number of beautiful characteristics that make it oh so special. Anyway, today what I want to do is go through another book summary like I normally do. I jumped on the bus this morning, got up at 4:45, had a shower, got my things together, drove to the bus stop, jumped on the bus and picked out a book summary, summarised it on the way in. So I've spent about half an hour mulling over this and putting some points together, some talking points, and we'll see where it leads us, because it's a brilliant book by a brilliant author. I always get her name wrong. I used to call her Brene, but I've since learned that her name is pronounced Brene. So Brene Brown, who's a prolific author, she's put together quite a few books, has put together yet another one entitled Atlas of the Heart. And I guess it's probably a good book to cover on Valentine's Day, because it basically goes through to discuss and detail the many different emotions that influence the way we feel. And she's able to detail and discuss about 87 emotions. But I was a little bit shocked to find out that in total there could be up to 34,000 emotions. But what's important is not the number. What's important is to be able to label the way we feel, because through being able to label something and to understand it and to define it and to explain it is your ability to also feel it. I remember reading once that you can't really live your life to its fullest if your vocabulary doesn't allow you to articulate and to identify the nuance from what a particular thing is. So if you can't describe something in absolute detail, then you possibly can't feel it. So depending on a person's emotional wheel, depending on how detailed they are and how well they understand it, will open up a person's life to more feeling, to more accurate feeling, rather than having a limited number of words to describe their feeling. They're in a position to have a wider spectrum of descriptions, and hence a wider inventory of feelings to leverage and enjoy, or to address. The author, Brene Brown, goes on to say that in life we have a limited number of choices to make, and you basically have one choice. You can either choose comfort or you can choose courage, but you can't choose both. So once again, a profound statement, a very interesting statement, and a beautiful way to start our discussion on this most beautiful sunrise-drenched morning. Brene goes on to say that it's the events throughout our lives that shape our persona and define who we are and who we end up being and who we end up with in terms of our persona. We can either build or damage our emotional intelligence based on the lessons we learn and the things we experience. So once again, our perception ends up becoming our reality, according to this author. And we need to be careful, we need to be productive, and we need to be accurate in terms of how we see things and how we describe things to ourselves, because the way we do it initially will have an impact on how we feel over time. So the stories that we will keep on repeating to ourselves will be based on what we capture initially, up front. So Brene goes on to say that we need to address our emotions at the right time. This is powerful, this is important. Now, you can't miss the opportunity to address an emotion and leave it too late. There's a nice boat here, Australia. Just notice it now. So what the author is saying is that you can't miss the opportunity to address your emotion. You've got to do it at the right time, else you impair your body, soul and spirit, as well as the relationships with other people. It's important. That's a very, very important point, because what the author is saying is that the way you capture your emotion, the way you describe it, the way you deal with it, will have a major impact on you at that point in time, but it will also resonate and ripple through your life. So how we attach emotions and how we attach meaning to those emotions is very, very important. And Brene says that we need to nurture and protect our emotional integrity. Sorry about that. So the first formal point to come from this wonderful book is that comparing ourselves to others and not dealing with anger and disappointment is what is hurting us the most. So she goes right to the point that anger is one of those key emotions that we need to learn how to address, and it's but one of the 87 emotions that she talks about. But what Brene is able to teach us from this book is that anger is probably one of the most common elements that is the foundation emotion for most of the other negative emotions that can infect our lives. So anger and disappointment. So what Brene talks about here with regards to anger is that what normally happens is that anger leads to blame, which makes us feel wronged and holds us back. It's not something that is going to elevate you. It's not something that's going to improve you if you leave it unchecked. Because what happens is that anger and disappointment impact our peace and tranquility. They steal our happiness, which in turn may damage in some way, shape or form our relationships with ourselves and with other people. So the call to action, I guess, from Brene is to be able to understand and to be able to clearly and accurately label the emotions that you're feeling in order to be able to deal with them and in order to be able to leverage them as best you can. So what Brene is saying is that one of the most damaging things you can do is to compare yourself to others, because what you're doing is you're starting to establish a negative ranking system. For example, I see this beautiful yacht here, obviously a celebrity or a person of means, but if I sit and compare myself and say, well, look, I don't have a boat as big as that, what you're basically doing is you're developing a negative ranking system which is going to wire you for pain and leave you disappointed and leave you, I guess, unfulfilled. So it's a trap that Brene reminds us of and encourages us not to get sucked into, so to speak, because you're wiring yourself for pain. You're wiring yourself for endless suffering. So the second point to come out of this book is where the author says that we need to consider alleviating the negative emotions. And one way of doing that is by becoming vulnerable and bonding to our surroundings and people around us. But Brene, I guess the big lesson that I've learned over time is that Brene is a big talker and spends a lot of time talking about the concept of vulnerability. And this is probably one of her strengths, because vulnerability is one of those things that we all need to learn how to use and leverage and understand. And she says that vulnerability is not a weakness, but it's courage and it's self-awareness. So vulnerability is something that we need to understand and to be able to label correctly. But who to be vulnerable to, according to Brene, is the big challenge, is without doubt the big challenge. Because if you're vulnerable to the wrong person or the wrong people or the wrong circle, it could lead to ridicule, and it could lead to continuous pain and suffering. Because vulnerability, when used correctly, can open up compassion in others, but not all. Vulnerability in some circles opens up the lion, or releases the lion or the tiger or the ugly beast in some people who are there just to maul you and to ridicule you. But in some people, the right people, according to Brene, when you open up, vulnerability leads to kindness and to some of the beautiful experiences that one can generate and experience in life. The last formal point to come out of this book is that we need to be able to label our emotions correctly and accurately. And the more that you're able to label, then the more you're able to leverage, the more you're able to use, the more you're able to make the most of and have serving you as opposed to serving them. So we need to differentiate our emotions properly, and to be able to identify the good from the bad and to be able to work with them as opposed to them working against us. We need to understand the difference between the emotions, because there is a nuance. There are slight differences which have a massive impact, according to this wonderful author. Humility, for example, the one emotion that is often quoted in the Bible and the foundation of our Christian faith, basically is a strength. But people often have it confused and confuse it with weakness. Just because you're humble doesn't mean you're a pushover. Just because you're humble doesn't mean that other people can get you to do things. It's all about your being self-awareness, or having your self-awareness, and you learn how to draw a line. And as we said, Brene is a champion of vulnerability and emotional intelligence and how to use that in our lives. And she says that we need to let in the emotions that serve us and get rid of those emotions, or at least limit those emotions that hold us back, that bring us down, that cause us pain. So I think I'll leave it there on this Valentine's Day here in Sydney, this absolutely magnificent sunrise that I'm experiencing here at the end of the International Passenger Terminal. I'm at the 290 metre mark, I guess is the best way to describe where I am. I'm right at the edge, right at the corner. I've got the best position to make the most of this beautiful morning. And I wish everybody a happy Valentine's Day. For those who have a love in their lives, cherish it, make the most of it, respect it, and nurture it, for it is a special gift that is reserved for few. For those who are looking for love, may you find it, and find the right love where you're able to match your values and match your vitality and your view of the world, your worldview. And happy Monday to everybody. Happy start of the business week, and wishing us all a productive and a healthy day indeed. I look forward to coming to you again from a different place with a different message of empowerment, and to enjoy the lessons that we've taken from this book this morning, and hopefully we can incorporate them into our lives, into our worldview, because we've learnt that the art of learning is the attaching of the unknown to the known. So take care, everybody. Wishing you all the very best, and we'll chat again soon. Bye for now.